Hi, I am Professor Amitav Banerjee. I am Editor-in-Chief of medical journal Dr. D.Y. Patil Vidypaeeth and also academic editor of PLOS 1. Let us discuss today an important issue regarding publication ethics, that is plagiarism. A lot of misconceptions are there about plagiarism. Then there are a lot of other expectations that number of plagiarism detection software can resolve the issues and but today we'll discuss some of these issues. What constitutes plagiarism, what are the factors which are uh, which are which are driving more and more such unethical practices, and also whether the software can solve the problem, what are the pitfalls in this software, and briefly we will mention in passing also the emerging AI and chat box, and in view of these emerging technologies, where does plagiarism stand. So I will share the screen and project some slides, and then we can discuss those point wise. So this is the topic: plagiarism, what constitutes and how to deal. So these are the points: common issues and myths, the academic environment driving plagiarism, the psychology of plagiarism, because plagiarism is a crime, and in studying crime we have to understand the psychology of the individual as well. What are the different types of plagiarism? All plagiarism cannot be measured with same yardstick. Some plagiarism are more serious, some are less serious. They can be acts of omissions and acts of commission. And how do we resolve the issues emerging from plagiarism? I'll try to give some examples from our experience. Perils and pitfalls of plagiarism software, and chatbox and plagiarism, negotiating the emerging technologies. So the ethics around plagiarism and what constitutes plagiarism. Plagiarism is stealing like all crimes. Important to know psychology of the perpetrator for taking a call. Young and even some senior faculty sometimes are not aware that even with citation one has to paraphrase the text. That is, you cannot put everything ad verbatim from the main source. You have to use your own words. All concepts should have appropriate citations. Even if you use your own words, if you have taken an idea, it should be attributed to the original source. And even self plagiarism is also not permitted. Even your own work, you cannot copy from your own work without proper citation. And then duplicate publication. The same publication cannot be published in another journal, which is called duplicate publication, which calls for retraction without proper permission or without proper reason. That is, there are certain situations where you have to take permission of both the editors. What is the factors which are increasing the plagiarism? The current academic environment is quite chaotic. There, everybody now, it is not only publish or perish. Now you have to publish in high impact journal, impact or perish. Unrealistic research and publication goals by accrediting bodies and ranking institutional ranking bodies. It is linked with your career, with your promotion, with your selection, and commercial and career interests are also there. And ethics are left behind. The ethics are left behind, and those who are ethical are also left behind with the ethics. This is the unfortunate situation. So questionable research practices are rewarded in the, at least in the short run. Later, even Nobel Prize winners have been caught for questionable practices, as we'll see. So it's a personal issue, and one should cultivate the habit of good ethics, because in the long run this will stand you in good stead. In the short run, you may perhaps be overtaken, but it's a personal call. What is the psychology of the plagiarist? Plagiarism is stealing like all crimes, and important to understand the psychology of the criminal. It starts in the formative years. Most education systems are stressing on rote learning, that is, reproduce what is given in the textbook, and many keep on having a reverence for textbooks with a fervor usually reserved for religious texts. So it's a new religion, the science blindly following what is written. But science actually is debate and your own words and your own ideas and your own thinkings. So whatever it is, we have to get out of this comfort zone. Then another major reason is lack of familiarity with the English language. Plagiarism is easier than paraphrasing. In fact, as an editor, once I find certain language deficits, I feel more reassured that this is not plagiarized. When I find perfect English, I am more careful to check plagiarism. I can improve the English, and most probably an author who has written his own words may have these lapses of grammar and language which can be corrected by the technical editors. But too perfect a language could raise the signal. Ignorance that even after citation, many people are not aware of it. They think once they have cited the source, they can just copy it ad verbatim. But that is another reason, and that we can understand while we encounter. We will be giving examples. When we encounter such instances, we can communicate with the author and come to know and educate the author. And of course, they are more serious are the lack of integrity, the deliberate plagiarism. So I will give some examples of one of own experience with the journal, Medical Journal of D.Y. Patil Vidypaeeth. So one reviewer had remarked on a manuscript, "Dear editor, the case report is good and well described. However, many of the introduction and discussion has been copied ad verbatim from other sources and textbooks." And when we sent this to the author replied, "But I have done review of literature. How can I do review of literature without copying from other sources?" So this was a naivety of the author. Genuinely, he believed that he has not done anything wrong. So that we have to educate them. Yeah, you have to change it. And then, of course, we can take a call by educating the author. Another example is one overseas reviewer suggested that the author add another reference in an otherwise well-written manuscript. The authors in the revised manuscript copied whole paragraphs from that particular reference, which unfortunately for the author was the work of the same reviewer. Most of the reviewers have this habit of asking the author to add a citation of their own work. Anyway, when the revised manuscript was sent back to the referee, he took a very serious view and responded with such harsh comments, rejecting the manuscript outright based on plagiarism. Again, this is an extreme step by the reviewer also. The author, when informed, was perplexed. He thought that the reviewer should be happy that his work has been cited word to word, and any paraphrasing of the original text would have been sacrilege in the author's view. As I said, there is a religious fervor. This illustrates that some authors may be using the same words as homage to others. So again, as editor, the editors had to intervene between to resolve the communication gap between the reviewer and the author, and we asked the author to paraphrase it, and then of course we checked the other sources also, because if he had done for one, he might have done for others. Again, the whole text had to be paraphrased by the author, and with some number of revisions we could make it worthy of publication. Then another instance of self-plagiarism. Editorial board of our journal had a very nasty surprise after the current issue of the journal had gone online some time back. We noticed that an identical article to one published in it had been published in another journal with a slightly different title. When confronted with the self-plagiarism, the authors were surprised to know that this practice was unethical. Their logic was that if plagiarism is stealing from others, How can one steal one's own work? We had to publish a retraction because of this duplicate publication. They see this is also cheating, sometimes maybe due to ignorance, because if you are publishing the same article more than once, you are increasing your count of publications, and also you are increasing the burden to the reviewers. Again, you are not contributing anything to the literature. So this is not permitted. Many authors are not aware. Of course, now many are aware, but these are acts of omission. These are, in such cases, we try to take as tolerant a view as would be feasible within the constraints of editorial responsibility and legality. We also use the opportunity to educate the authors on the nuances of plagiarism and self-plagiarism, as we have explained. Then, which are the acts of commission? These are more serious, which calls for more serious action. That is deliberate plagiarism, driven by pressure of publish or perish. Many publish in predatory journals. So this is another racket which is come up. Deliberate plagiarism is highly unethical and deserves penalty. Often universities try to cover up such acts. So as one of the members of committee on publication ethics said, don't go to a university that hasn't at least one person fired for misconduct, academic misconduct, because it means they are not looking for it properly. So many institutions or universities think that it's a stigma if somebody in their institution has been punished for plagiarism or other unethical. But in fact, it should be a badge of honor that they have high standards, because these are highly prevalent practices, and if you have not yet caught anyone on your campus, that means you are not searching hard enough. In our military training center, we had a commander who said if the cadets, officer cadets are not getting injuries, that means the training is not proper. You are not training hard enough, because that's, if you are training hard enough, there are bound to be some casualties. So these again, another issue is plagiarism of images. This is a very interesting case we came across some years back. So if you see the heading says a case report, a classical presentation of diarrhea disease, rare disorder. This is a published paper, and we selected the reviewer from this published paper, Atia Mehboob. This was the first author. She was from Pakistan. So we got a paper. We got this manuscript on the same condition, that is a diarrhea disease, and when we checked up the other papers, similar papers, and most of the time we get our reviewers from the similar papers. So this was the images from the right side, the images we had from the manuscript we submitted for review, diarrhea disease, and we sent it to this author, and by coincidence this author of this paper, these are the images from the paper which is highlighted at the top. So this she pointed out, you see on the left side and the right side, the woman's earrings, the similar earrings. The reviewer, she was a lady, I suppose, Atia Mahboob from Pakistan. She noticed, she did not mention of other features. She just mentioned that look at the earrings, the common earrings. So this, my paper, the image from my paper has been plagiarized in this manuscript. So this is how the coincidence, and then immediately we rejected this paper. So you see, I think across here there is a uniform attention to jewelry by ladies. So this is something which caught our attention of the reviewer, and just by coincidence this was detected. Another, this, as I said, in the long run, even these practices catch up with the anyone, even in high places. This is even Nobel laureates are vulnerable. A Nobel Prize winning genetic researcher has retracted 2 more papers, bringing his total to 13. So this raises questions. So this is the Professor Greg Sorenja, Professor of Genetics from John Hopkins. He got the 2019 Nobel in Physiology. Recent, anyway, certain raw data, this is the image actually which was duplicated, certain raw data labeled to be from two different mice might also be from the same mouse. So one mouse was shown as two different mouse, and the images, there were some astute observers who noticed that the images or even the mouse without earring, they are the same mouse. So this source is from Retraction Watch, 15 September 2024. This is an important news blog, Retraction blog. It keeps on continuously giving the details of retraction. And how do we identify? Well, as for text, we have got a number of software like Authenticate is one, which is a standard one. But for plagiarism detection images, earlier it used to be like by chance, like we detected this from with the earrings. But now there are certain methods, reverse imaging search tools. Then search by image can utilize advanced image search technology available through search engines like Google Images. This feature allows one to upload an image or input an image URL, initiating a search for identical or similar images across the web. Then advanced image recognition algorithms, uh, tools such as TinEye and Image Radar employ advanced image recognition algorithms to scan for duplication of images. These platforms can trace identical pictures even if they have been altered, ensuring high image detection precision. Then, of course, these are some of the issues from the author side, and sometimes the plagiarism tools can also misfire, and there are a number of pitfalls. We will again illustrate with some example. Plagiarism detection software can mislead, just like any test. They can have false positive and false negative. Software will not detect plagiarism of text translated from other languages or picked up from old textbooks. These are the shortcomings. Can become a crutch and a problem instead of resolving the issue. Sometimes you depend too much on it, then it can become an issue rather than a solution. So these are one example we are giving. We got an alert from a whistleblower from South Africa. He wrote to us few years back. I read the article Surgical Repair of Giant Inguinal-Scrotal Hernia containing the urinary bladder with great interest. I came across a similar article which discusses similar issues. Unfortunately, the first paper has plagiarized extensively, 229 words, 25%. It is unfair to publish such an article in your esteemed journal. I wish the editors will consider this an offense, as this will compromise the quality of the journal and put a question on its credibility. We were really concerned and we investigated. On investigation, we found that the paper from which the whistleblower had alleged plagiarism was done was authored by none other than one of the reviewers of the paper published in a journal. We wrote back to the whistleblower. We have examined the matter. It would interest you to know that one of the referees of the paper was Dr. Panagiotakis himself, the lead author of the paper from which you say the paper published by us has been plagiarized. He had approved the paper after corrections. They are likely to be common technical terms which will inflate the similarity percentage of the software. We should use a judgment and grant benefit of doubt to the authors. We said they are in medical, there are certain terms, there are certain definitions which does pick up, inflate the similarity index, but which has to be interpreted and the whole paper should be read. So we expected that the whistleblower will be satisfied. He was not. He replied, I believe the present explanation is not strong enough to support the published work is not plagiarized. If the referee has approved, it does not mean the article is not plagiarized. The referee, the same one whose work he is alleging, he has approved, still he is not satisfied. The evidence in favor of plagiarism has been ignored. It questions the integrity of the peer review and the competence of the referee. Strong words and a loud whistle indeed. He is stuck on that 25% similarity. It is something you find a test and you patient is having no symptoms, you label him a case like we did with RT-PCR. So anyway, these are very disturbing trends. So we sought the opinion of the reviewer. Then we wrote to the reviewer. He responded, I read with great interest the exchanges. My co-authors and I, he also consulted his co-authors, do not think that there was any kind of plagiarism. You see, it's a matter of judgment. There may be some blind spots. So he consulted his co-authors, and it was a consensus by all the authors that this is not a plagiarism. Actually, they should be concerned because it is alleged that their work has been plagiarized. They were the main author was the reviewer, and other authors also agreed. At last, we thought the whistleblower would be satisfied. He was not again. A similarity index of 25, he is just stuck on that. Similarity index of 25% from the software needs to be taken seriously. Please find COPE guidelines for your reference. I am going to report the matter to International Editors Forum. I don't know what is that. What he's just threatened us. And we replied that we are above board because we had done a thorough investigation, and what better investigation than the authors concerned, and ready to face any queries from any international forum. We did not hear after that. But this can happen, and these people can be misguided. Many papers may get unnecessarily rejected. So it is a test which we have to take in context. It's a software we have to take, output has to be taken in context. It gives the similarity index. If you notice, authenticate, it doesn't say plagiarism so much, it says similarity. So it is left to the editors to take a call. Unfortunately, most universities also, they have become bureaucratic. They just see the index and then they send it back. And then you have to, of course, paraphrase. So take home message from these instances are plagiarism detection software can mislead. They may fail to detect plagiarism if ideas copied from sources of in another language or from sources not on digital platforms such as old textbooks. So they are not foolproof. On the other hand, outputs from software, if not interpreted judiciously, can wrongly conclude that the content is plagiarized, as happened with our whistleblower. Plagiarism detection software can become a crutch and a problem instead of resolving the issue of plagiarism. Going strictly by percentage of similarity is laziness. It is like making a clinical diagnosis by looking at the lab results without examining the patient. Alas, this too is becoming common nowadays. I think at the end I became a bit tired and so many typos. So, an afterthought, once I just had an afterthought on a note on ChatGPT and AI and other plagiarism. A large chunk of plagiarized material can also be due to chatbot generated content. If you see a large, you have to think whether the authors have used chatbots. Authors using chatbots to prepare their manuscripts should disclose the details in a transparent manner. There is nothing against using chatbots, but this should be used as an aid, not as a blindly reproduce. And if they have used, they should mention the source, the chatbot specifications, details, like we use the statistical software, we mention SPSS, which version, who are the manufacturers, and so on. So chat box also, if authors have used, they have to disclose. Authors are accountable for the work performed by chat box. A chatbot cannot be held accountable. Presently, most chatbots do not cite the references. Again, authors are vulnerable if they are blindly using chatbots. They have to trace the source. Then chatbots do not paraphrase also. They ad verbatim copy the words. So again, it is up to the authors who have to paraphrase. Chatbox is only an assistant, but the author, a good author, should do the further research, identify the sources, cite them, use the own words to convey the idea. So this is about chatbox. And lastly, there are some references. I have over cited myself, not because I am I've got a big ego, but these are whichever sources I have cited, they contain other references. So just for brevity, I have cited a number of editorials which we had published to educate our authors as well as reviewers. And of course, we have cited another source. This is in Nature. which gives the plagiarism detectors are a crutch and a problem. We have written an editorial on this plagiarism detection pitfalls. Whatever I have discussed, we have communicated on a wider platform to all the authors and reviewers. Whatever examples I gave, I have taken from these two editorials, and the editorial I got it reviewed. The second editorial on the perils and pitfalls, got it reviewed from this author. She had published in Nature, and of course she went through it and approved it. And then this is another editorial on chatbot challenges, and another one I have forgotten to mention here is the you should subscribe to Retraction Watch. It gives the updates of retractions and the backgrounds behind it. So this is all. I hope you'll take some lessons from this. Thank you.